The sound of the old kerosene stove sputtering was the first thing Amara Daniels heard every morning. The small roasted pot rattled on top of the flame as her mother boiled water for pap. The room was filled with smoke, and Amara coughed lightly as she opened her sleepy eyes. The one-room house was crowded with life. Her father lay on a tin mattress at the center, staring blankly at the ceiling as if searching for answers that never came. Her two younger brothers, barely awake, were huddled together on a mat, whispering about how hungry they were. Amara was 12, but she already carried the burden of someone much older. She tied her school uniform, faded and patched in several places, around her small body. The uniform was originally white and navy blue, but now it looked like it had been washed in tears instead of water, dull, worn out, and tired. Her mother handed her a tin cup of watery pap and a tiny piece of akara. "Eat fast, Amara," she said gently. "You will be late for school again." Amara nodded. She never argued. She sipped slowly, wishing the pap was thicker, wishing the akara was bigger, wishing her family had more, but wishes didn't fill stomachs. School was supposed to be the place where children dreamed of the future, but for Amara, it was also the place where those dreams were constantly mocked. She carried her books in a black nylon bag because her old school bag had torn beyond repair. As she walked through the dusty streets to school, she could already hear the voices of other students whispering behind her, "Look at Amara and her nylon bag again." One boy laughed loudly. "Maybe she will use it to sell tomatoes after school." Another girl sneered. "Even her shoes are crying for help. The soles are almost gone." Amara felt her cheek burn, but she kept walking. She had learned long ago that replying only gave them more reason to laugh. But silence was its own kind of pain. In class, it wasn't much better. Whenever Amara raised her hand to answer a question, some students would giggle, "Teacher's pet." "Even if you know book, who will marry poverty?" they would whisper. But when the teacher announced test results, the room went quiet. Amara's name was always at the top, every time. First position, Amara Daniels. For a moment, she felt the sweetness of victory, but it never lasted. By the next day, the laughter returned. The same classmates who admired her brilliance secretly hated it because they believed she would never escape her background. At home, things were no easier. Her father had been laid off from his job at a factory years ago, and since then, he had grown bitter. He often sat in silence, staring at nothing, while her mother struggled to keep the family afloat by selling fruit on a wooden tray at the roadside. Sometimes, Amara would return from school to find her mother sitting on the doorstep, tears in her eyes because she hadn't sold enough to buy food. "God will help us, Amara," her mother would say, forcing a smile. But Amara wasn't sure if she believed it anymore. She had seen too much disappointment, yet every night as she lay on the mat beside her brothers, she would whisper to herself, "I will change this story. I don't know how, but I will." One rainy day changed everything for Amara. She arrived at school, soaked because her umbrella was broken, her nylon bag ripped open as she tried to run, and her books fell into the muddy ground. The class erupted in laughter when she walked in late, her uniform wet, her books dripping. "Amara the river girl," someone shouted. "Poverty queen," another added. The teacher didn't defend her. He simply told her to sit down. Amara sat, her body trembling, not from the rain but from humiliation. That day, during break time, her classmates gathered in a circle, eating snacks and meat pies. Amara sat alone under a tree, nibbling on granules her mother had given her. She overheard one girl say, "She thinks she will be great. She will end up just like her mother, selling fruits." The laughter that followed pierced Amara's heart. She bit her lips so hard to stop the tears from falling. That night, she cried into her pillow, careful not to wake her brothers. She made herself a silent promise. One day, they will regret these words. one day they will see me rise. From then on, something changed in Amara. She still felt pain, but she no longer let it crush her. Instead, she began to secretly use their insults as fuel. When they mocked her nylon bag, she told herself, one day I will carry a designer bag. When they laughed at her shoes, she whispered, one day my shoes will shine on international stages. When they said she would be nothing, she promised, I will be everything they said I couldn't. She didn't know when or how, but she knew the fire inside her was too strong to die. What Amara didn't realize was that life was preparing her for battles bigger than she could imagine. The road ahead would be darker, harsher, and filled with betrayal, but it would also be the path to the sweetest victory. The day Amara graduated from secondary school was supposed to be one of joy. She had spent 6 years walking miles to school, enduring laughter, hunger, and shame. But finally, she stood in her faded uniform with her classmates, taking the last school photo. When the principal read out the best results of the year, Amara's name echoed through the hall. She had not only passed, she was the overall best student in school. Applause filled the air. Teachers praised her, saying she had a bright future. But as the clapping died down, Amara felt a knot in her stomach. She knew the truth nobody else cared to mention. Her family couldn't afford university. That night, while other graduates went out to celebrate with friends, Amara sat at home on the wooden stool beside her mother. Her father didn't come home. He had gone drinking with the little money they had. Her mother held her hand tightly. Amara, my daughter, you have made me proud, but her voice cracked. I don't know how we would pay your school fees. The words cut through Amara's heart. She wanted to scream, to cry, to ask why life was unfair, but instead she smiled weakly and whispered, don't worry, Mama, I will find a way. Months passed. Admissions letters came. Her classmates pasted on Facebook and WhatsApp, celebrating their new lives at university. They uploaded pictures in lecture halls, eating in cafeterias, smiling in hostels. Amara had also received admission to study mass communication at the Federal University. The letter sat neatly folded under her pillow. She read it every night, her eyes burning with unshed tears. Her family simply couldn't raise the fees. The same classmates who used to mock her now laughed even harder. Ah, our Amara the genius. See her at home, grinding pepper for her mother. All her intelligence has gone to waste. Some would pass by her mother's fruit stall, pretending to buy oranges, only to taunt her. Amara, did your university disappear? Or are you waiting for a scholarship from heaven? Every insult pierced her soul, but she learned to hold her head high, even when her heart was bleeding. Amara knew she couldn't sit idle. She began to look for jobs, any job to help her family. She went from shop to shop in the market, asking if they needed sales girls. Most turned her away. Finally, she got a job at a small provision store. The pay was little, but at least it kept her occupied. She worked hard, sweeping, arranging goods and attending to customers, but the humiliation followed her everywhere. One afternoon, a group of her old classmates walked into the store. They had come home for the holiday from their university. Amara's heart sank when she saw them. Ah, is that not Amara, the brain of our class? One of them said with a fake smile. Another added, so you are now a shop girl. All that intelligence wasted on selling soap and biscuits. They laughed and walked out, leaving Amara trembling with shame. That night, she went home and cried silently. Things grew worse at home. Her father's drinking habits deepened, and he often came home angry, yelling at her mother for not making enough money. Amara would hold her brothers tightly as they hid in a corner, listening to the chaos. She wanted so badly to change her family's story, but she felt trapped. One evening, she sat outside the house, staring at the sky. The stars looked beautiful, far away, untouchable. She whispered to herself, "When will my own star shine? When will I rise?" But no answer came. Despite the pain, Amara refused to give up. Every night after work, she sat with her old notebooks, revising topics she loved. She borrowed newspapers and magazines to keep her mind alive. Her mother noticed and often told her, "My daughter, your time will come. Life may delay, but it does not deny." Those words became Amara's anchor. She carried them in her heart like a shield. Still, the world continued to mark her. Her classmates became graduates, some even traveling abroad. Amara remained the fruit seller's daughter, stuck in the same neighborhood with nothing to show for her brilliance. The bitterness of humiliation sank deeper, but so did the fire within her. She began to dream, not just of escaping poverty, but of rising so high that the same people who mocked her would one day clap for her. And though she didn't know it yet, fate was already arranging her path. It was a hot Saturday afternoon when Amara experienced the insult that nearly broke her, yet also lit the brightest fire in her. Her mother had sent her to deliver some fruits to a customer at the far end of the market. She balanced the tray on her head, walking carefully through the crowd. She suddenly heard laughter. She turned, and there were four of her old classmates. They were dressed in stylish clothes, wearing sunglasses, and holding ice drinks. They looked like people from another world, shining with comfort and freedom. One of them, Ngozi, shouted loudly, enough for everyone to hear, "Is that not our Amara the genius? Look at her, fruit seller like her mother." The others burst out laughing. "Carry your tray well, oh. Don't let the oranges fall. University cannot help you now." The market women turned to look. Some shook their head in pity. Others chuckled quietly. Amara felt her knee tremble. She wanted the ground to open and swallow her. Her face burned with shame as she hurried past them, holding her head high, though her eyes blurred with tears. That night, she couldn't eat. She lay awake staring at the ceiling. Her brother slept peacefully beside her, but her heart pounded with pain. How could they laugh at me like that? How could life be so unfair? She wanted to give up, to accept that maybe her fate was truly sealed. But then her mother's word echoed in her memory. Life may delay, but it does not deny. And suddenly, she sat up straight. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but her eyes were burning. "No," she whispered fiercely. "This is not how my story will end. I will rise. I don't know how. I don't know when, but I will rise." That was the night Amara's pain transformed into power. From then on, Amara began to think differently. Instead of letting mockery crush her, she began to collect it like fuel. Every insult became a brick in the tower she was silently building in her mind. When people called her a fruit seller, she told herself, "Yes, for now, but one day I will be the one who owns the market." When they said she wasted her intelligence, she thought, "Just wait, you will see what I will become." She didn't know it yet, but the silent decision she made marked the start of her journey. 1 week later, something unexpected happened that gave her a glimpse of hope. She was at the shop where she worked as a sales girl when an elderly man came to buy groceries. He noticed how quickly and smartly she attended to him, how she calculated change without even looking at the calculator. "Young girl," he said, studying her face, "you are very intelligent. Why are you here working in the shop? You should be in school." Amara forced a smile. "Sir, there is no money for school." The old man nodded slowly, his eyes softening with pity. Then he said something that stayed with her forever. "Listen to me, young lady. Poverty is loud, but intelligence is louder. If you don't give up, Your intelligence will one day shout so loudly that the whole world will hear it. Amara froze. The words sank into her soul like rain into dry ground. She whispered softly, Amen. That night, she wrote the words down in her notebook. Poverty is loud, but intelligence is louder. One day, the world will hear me. It became her secret mantra. But life was not done testing her. A few months later, her father grew so bitter about their struggles that he lashed out at her one evening. Amara, stop wasting your time dreaming. You are going to end up like your mother, struggling till death. Forget all this nonsense about the future. The words stung worse than any insult from her classmates. Hearing it from her own father broke something in her. But instead of killing her spirit, it hardened her resolve. She looked at her father, tears burning in her eyes, and thought, You may not believe in me, but one day, even you will see me rise. Amara didn't know what tomorrow held, but she knew one thing, she could not stop. Every night she kept studying. Every day she observed people around her, learning silently, and deep inside, a fire burned that no mockery, no poverty, no broken dream could extinguish. The world still saw her as the fruit seller's daughter, the shop girl, the wasted genius, but Amara knew the truth. She was only in the first chapter of her story. The sweetest victory was yet to come.